Hi, this video is going to help with tangent lines in geometry, section 12.1, or it could be a different section. Anyway, so what is a tangent line? Well, let's look at that. What a tangent line is when you have a circle and you have a line that touches that circle at one point. That's called a tangent line. And that tangent line happens to connect or be perpendicular to the center of the circle. So the radius is perpendicular to that tangent line. So AB is the tangent line to circle O in my picture at point P. So point P is the point of tangency. And then we know from this is just one of our things that we can prove, is that AB would be perpendicular to OP. So what are we going to do with this? Well, we could see an example like this one, where it tells us in the directions that ML and MN are tangent lines to O. And then it says, well, what is X? So you could see this same type of problem with the triangle, quadrilateral. I picked the quadrilateral because it's a little bit harder than a triangle. So what do we know about where these meet? The tangent line here, where that tangent line meets, what do we know about this angle right here? Well, you can still see it on my example. You know that it is a 90-degree angle. So if this one's 90, this one is also 90 degrees. So what we can do is we can look at this as a quadrilateral with 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and we know that all the angles have to add up to 360 degrees. If you didn't know that, that's something we should have learned somewhere along the line. You could think of it as, if I start with this point, how many triangles can I create? 2. All right, so I draw a line right down the center, 2 triangles. So I have 180 plus 180, which is the 360. So you can look at it as all quadrilaterals add to 360. If you had 5 sides, and you could make 3 triangles, and we could go into that more in detail to think of it in terms of how many triangles. And you want to make the least amount of triangles. I don't want to start making other triangles like this way and this way and this way. You start in one point. How many triangles can I make? Just one line here with 2 triangles. So 360. So that means you have 117, and you can add it to that 90 plus, that 90 plus X has to be 360. So subtract those, and you should get X to equal 63, if I remember correctly. So 360 minus 117, minus 90 minus 90 is 63. So I keep writing everything backwards. X is equal to 63 degrees. Another theorem that we have, and I didn't want to redraw another picture, is if you have from a point 2 lines going to a circle that are both tangent to that circle, then those 2 lines are congruent. It's another theorem. It is theorem 12.3. So ML and MN would be congruent. Okay? So that's how we kind of look at that problem, and we would know that those are congruent. Now let's look at this other problem that we have here. I guess I did do one with the triangle. Forgot I did a triangle one, but I know that in your homework you have a triangle too. So if we look at this one, we have 38 degrees. What does this one have to be if we know BC is tangent to circle O? Well, that would have to be 90. So 38 plus 90 plus X would have to equal your X. So we would get X to be 52 degrees on that one. Okay, so they just add up to 180. What's another type of problem you might see? Something like this one. This is my third example. What if you know that AB is tangent to circle C? Circle C, that's how I say circle C. What is the radius of this? So that's a little bit harder to do. So we're finding the radius. Well, and we have these X's here. We know that this is going to meet at a 90-degree angle. if it's a 90-degree angle, we know that the sides, you can use the Pythagorean theorem on the sides. The way that you're going to use it for this is you're going to set it up to be, okay, leg, hypotenuse, and you would go leg is x squared plus 12 squared equals this whole quantity is x plus 8 squared. And you have to use the parentheses. So when you solve this, you have to multiply this out. So let's see what I mean by that. This side is going to be x squared plus 144. This side over here is like x plus 8 times x plus 8. That's what squared means. So what's that going to look like? X times x is x squared. X times 8 is 8x. 8 times x is 8x. 8 times 8 is 64. So what do we end up with? X squared plus 16x plus 64. And then we still have x squared plus 144. Now, I was almost excited because I thought you had to use the quadratic formula again or something else, but unfortunately, you're probably like, yes, you can subtract this x squared over and they cancel each other. And I was kind of bummed because I thought you should have to use the quadratic formula so that these would cancel. And you have 144 is going to equal the 16x plus 64. Subtract that 64. I'm going to use my calculator. That's 80. I was like, I remember it was something that 16 divided into. And then 80 divided by 16 was 5. So 5 is our final answer for those two x values. Okay, 5 and 5. All right. And that one was probably one of the harder ones. If you had to use the quadratic formula here, you would move everything to one side. So it's like x squared plus something x plus some number. And then look that up if you don't remember how to use the quadratic formula to solve that. Or you could use factoring or one of the other methods we learned in last year's math. But the quadratic formula will get you the right answer each time. It might be a little bit easier. Okay, the last thing is you could be asked, one more example real quick. You could be asked, so here's my picture, I'm just trying to hide the answer. You could be given that BC is tangent to, I circle A, so called circle A because the center is at A, and you could be given the sides of the triangle, and it says, well, is it tangent? Well, we would know it's tangent if it is a 90-degree angle or a right triangle. So the way that we do that is leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared, or the Pythagorean theorem. So for this one, I would have 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. I'd square them out, add, and this is a yes. So BC is tangent to A. So if you were asked if something is tangent, you could use the Pythagorean theorem. So hopefully this video helped you with tangent lines.